This is He Knows His Sport, bringing you that heat and that fire. All right, I want to talk about Kevin Durant, and I want to talk about his injury. Listen, man, there's a lot of misnomers out there. People are sitting there saying, "Oh man, I told you, man, it was a more serious injury than what it was." Is the injury have some degree of seriousness? Yes. But folks, stop the presses and pump the brakes on the nonsense. Go sit down somewhere and higgity hush. Because if his injury was so serious, like we're saying it is, then he would be completely excoriated. He would be completely eliminated from any contention of playing in the NBA Finals. We are already told that he was not going to be in the Western Conference Finals. So that wasn't a mystery. Based on the injury itself, even Kevin Durant felt that because of scares that DeMarcus Cousins told him and Kobe Bryant told him prior to that, he was probably thinking that he probably had a similar injury that they had as an Achilles injury. But folks have to understand, folks are not doctors and they don't have, and they don't have credibility as a mental health professional. And when I say mental, I'm sorry, medical professional to sit there and diagnose your injury. They're not medical professionals. They're not doctors, man. Especially doctors that are specific in that realm of injuries. So what do I have to listen to Shaquille O'Neal for? He's an NBA player. Has he had injuries? Yes. But that's what he is at his truest and properest levels, an NBA analyst that used to be an ex-NBA player. I'm not taking what he says with a grain of salt because he sat there and said it was an Achilles injury. So he was wrong. He was wrong. And folks have to understand that. I heard everything that he said. But he leaned on Achilles. That's not what was diagnosed. Everyone that thought it was an Achilles didn't know what they were wrong. Even Kevin Durant himself. You see how Kevin Durant, the guy who got injured, didn't even know what he had. He's a player, man. He's not a doctor, folks. So folks have to wait until a doctor comes out and give the diagnosis of what you have. I don't care what anybody has to say. If the mental health if the medical professional, the doctor is not saying it, then it's not credible. Because last time I checked, Kevin Durant is probable for the NBA Finals. Not even questionable. Because you would have known how serious it would have been if they said he would have been questionable. They say he's probable. So it can't be that serious if he's going to play in the NBA Finals. Now it's serious nevertheless because it's kept him out to a certain degree of amount of time that it has. But people have to understand when you get an injury, there's an adrenaline that takes place once you get the injury. Then once the adrenaline leaves the body, now the injury is inflamed. It has inflammation. If anyone understands how the body works, it has inflammation. So it's going to inflame. That's wherever that injury is taking place, inflammation has taken place. So it's going to take a certain amount of time before that inflammation loses its inflammation, depending on where you got injured. Now, when we came out and looked at the injury, it was a calf injury. That's what it was. That's what the doctor said. Not no Achilles. That sounds more credible to me because when somebody has an Achilles injury, they can't play. So when people are sitting here saying, oh man, that injury must be more serious than a calf injury, you don't know what you're talking about. Because when you have an Achilles injury, you can't play. You have to shut it down for the rest of the season. How come he's probable to play, people? So higgity hush with that nonsense. He has a calf injury. It's probably like a mild to severe calf injury, something like that. But even the guy who got injured himself didn't even know what he had. So I don't even want to tell you about somebody else that's not in the man's body. And that's not even a medical professional, not a doctor, not someone that has anything to do with those types of injuries, that deal with those types of injuries, that want to tell you this is what the man has. And then want to sit there and tell you, I told you so, I told you so. Shaq said that. Come on, man. Higgity hush with that. Folks that are sitting here telling you that the Golden State Warriors can win without Kevin Durant, they're not watching basketball, man. They're not paying attention. I've said this before, and I will say it again. Kevin Durant at 80%, Even 75% is what they need. And let's keep it real, folks. Who is 100% in the NBA playoffs? Didn't Stephen Curry go all the way to the NBA Finals and he had an injury? He didn't play the first round, right? But didn't the Golden State Warriors go all the way to 2016? Come on, man. Lest y'all forget, let's have to remind y'all. Didn't he dominate? Didn't he score? People that sitting there saying, we don't know if Kevin Durant's going to come back and be the same. Stephen Curry sat out a whole first round. And he dominated for the second and the third round. And he was there in the finals. So this is what I'm trying to say, man. The game that Kevin Durant has, he can still be very efficient. Because he doesn't have a limited game. See, I can understand if Kevin Durant's game was predicated upon drivability, meaning driving to the basket. But Kevin Durant does not have that kind of game. He has an expansive offensive game, meaning he can score from many different forms, many different variations, and many different facets. This is why I keep telling everybody it's imperative that you develop a mid-range game. It's imperative that you have an expansive three-point shooting game. And it's imperative that you can shoot free throws. Because when you do those top three key things, you're not limited. Well, guess what? Kevin Durant does these things in bunches. So he can still be effective, folks. Now, this is how Kevin Durant's going to have to play. The Golden State Warriors have went back to their original system where they moved the ball side to side. Because prior to that, it was Kevin Durant and then everybody else was spectators watching him deliver the goods. Now we've gone back to the original system where the ball's moving around. Well, Kevin Durant's already shown he can succeed in that because people need to understand. Lest you forget, lest I have to remind your ass, Kevin Durant can play in the system and out of the system. I've said this before, and I will say it again. Rewind, let it marinate in the corpus callosum and in the cerebellum. Kevin Durant can play in the system and he can play out of the system. What does that mean, folks? That means that he can play off the ball. That's how he plays in the system. This is why he's an anomaly. This is why he's an enigma. This is why he is the best player in the game. Because a superstar of his highest order and his highest stature does not need the ball to be successful. He can still score 30 plus points and still be a walking 50, 40, 90 walking gazelle with playing off of the ball. He did that the first year with the Golden State Warriors. Go do some film study. Go do some tail of the tape. That's how he played. He played within their system. And he flourished. He got an NBA Finals MVP for that. So Kevin Durant can do that. They're going to need him, man. Because there are going to be moments where Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson are going to have 5 for 20 or 7 for 24 shooting games. And you're going to need somebody that's going to go in there and say, get the snot out the way, give me the ball, and let me deliver the goods. Kevin Durant can do that. The injury that Kevin Durant has can't affect his shooting. Because guess what? His shooting is in his wrists. And Kevin Durant is tall enough to where he doesn't have to jump when he shoots. I just had poetry moment with y'all. Let me say that again. Kevin Durant is damn near 7 feet. And he has an expansive post game. He does not have to jump to shoot. He could just shoot over people with a light amount of effort. It's going to cause some tweaking, but he's great enough to tweak. Kobe Bryant used to do this. When Kobe Bryant injured his finger, he tweaked. He tweaked his shooting wrist. He tweaked his shooting touch. I've seen Kevin Durant done this before with other injuries where he's tweaked his game. He can do that. He's that efficient. This is what I'm trying to tell y'all. They need him out there because he's going to be efficient nevertheless. He's the most efficient basketball in the history of the game. You could say what you want about Kevin Durant. Oh, it was the weakest move he made to go play with the Golden State Warriors. Oh, Kevin Durant, the stuff that he's doing, it doesn't make any sense. But you got to put respect on his name in terms of his efficiency. There's nobody in this modern day game or in NBA history that is as efficient as Kobe Bryant. I mean, not Kobe Bryant, Kevin Durant. I've said this before. Go watch this video I made so many months ago. I talked about the 3 greatest scorers in NBA history and how they score. MJ was the most ultimate assassin scorer. So to me, he was the most lethal scorer because he did it with an assassin's mentality. Kobe Bryant was the most aggressive scorer and the most fastest scorer. Nobody could score as fast as him or as aggressive as he can. But Kevin Durant is the most efficient scorer because his efficiency is off the charts. When Kevin Durant scores, he's giving you 50% from the field. He's giving you damn near 40% from the three. And damn near rounding it off 90% from the free throw. I mean, you don't get no more efficient than that. And he's doing this averages year in and year out for years. We're talking about yearly 50, 40, 90. This is ridiculous, man. So when people don't put respect on this dude's name, it's laughable to me. It's comical. It's like, what basketball are you watching? Because I know what basketball I'm watching. And then on top of that, Kevin Durant has shown you that he has improved marginally and shown you his expansive defensive game because he's an elite defender. He makes key situational defensive stops when it needs to happen. And he's been the best shot blocker for the Golden State Warriors those last 2 years. And best rebounder. Because Draymond Green ain't getting you no rebound. He's undersized. He's a jack of all trades. He's a borderline Dennis Rodman. But one thing that he does not have that Dennis Rodman had is he doesn't have that expansive rebounding game. So who's the one rebounding? Kevin Durant, folks. Because there's been a lot of games where you see Kevin Durant drop 50 points. He got about 11 rebounds, 13 rebounds, 16 rebounds. You see what I'm saying? So, lest y'all forget, lest I have to remind y'all asses, man. Kevin Durant is for real. He is legit, folks. And the quicker you guys can see this, the quicker we can move on to what makes sense. It's basketball 101, folks. So stop the presses and pump the brakes on the nonsense. You guys are not doctors. So stop the medical diagnosis. This is why I tell people you need to wait until all the facts come out. I'm not listening to no damn Shaquille O'Neal. I'm sorry. And nobody's going to brain full of mush and brainwash my head and thereby make me a dodo head. No, I don't get dodo heading. Dodo headings happen to ultra fanboys and ultra fangirls. They follow that rhetoric. I don't. I'm a deep thinker. And in deep thinking, it requires an analysis and it requires critical thinking. But in order to do that, you have to wait until all the facts come out. So clearly, if Kevin Durant is probable, that means he has nothing, nowhere near Achilles injury. That means his injury is credible, but it's not severe enough to make sure that he does not play. So let's wait and see what happens. NBA Finals is not even here yet, and people are coming up with all these headlines. Oh, Kevin Durant's not going to play because of Steve Kerr. Like they are there, man. This is what makes me laugh. They act like they are there. Are you guys listening to this rubbish in these headlines? Oh, Steve Kerr's going to shut down Kevin Durant. And Steve Kerr wants to keep his job. He ain't going to do no dumb stuff like that. Because Joe Lacob has come out of his mouth, majority owner, the guy who trumps and supersedes everyone in the organization, and says that Kevin Durant is coming back 100%. And Kevin Durant will be the Finals MVP. But in order for those two things to happen, Kevin Durant has to play, right? So Steve Kerr don't have no power here. That's why I said anyone that's saying that stuff, that's ultra fanboy rhetoric, and that's folks that's hating and trolling against Kevin Durant. There's just no two ways around that. And they need to higgity fucking hush. The truth of the fact of the matter is Kevin Durant will play at some point in the NBA Finals. I don't know what that looks like, but I know he's going to play. Because the Golden State Warriors will need his ass if they're going to win. Without him, they're not winning nothing. And that's why Kendrick Perkins, that 1% he lost, he regained it back because he said that. And Byron Scott. They both said, let's not fool ourselves. The Golden State Warriors are not better without Kevin Durant. He reestablished himself after that Kawhi Jordan foolery. Matter of fact, he's at 0.5 because he still keep talking that Kawhi Jordan nonsense. So, yeah, he's at 0.5%. He got 0.5 back. But he even realized that. Byron Scott realized that. And anyone that has a basketball brain understands you need Kevin Durant to be over the top. So all this rhetoric about Kevin Durant and his diagnosis about, oh, he's going to play, he's not going to play, and all of this stuff, that's just people just trying to create a story that's not even a story in the first place. Let's wait until all the facts come out, folks. And let's sit back and enjoy the ride. Because I'm telling you right now, if Kevin Durant is not in that NBA Finals, the Golden State Warriors does not defeat the Toronto Raptors. They need Kevin Durant at 75 to 80% for them to deliver the goods. This is Henos' Sport. Checking out.